used to think the scariest part of night driving was the chance of hitting a deer. You don't expect real danger to walk out onto the road. But I learned that sometimes the real danger doesn't move at all. This happened 6 months ago. I was doing an overnight haul from Spokane to a rural drop site in southern Idaho. I drive a small box truck for a freight company, usually low-priority stuff. Junk auction pickups, small deliveries nobody wants to deal with. I liked the solitude. I'd drive all night, sleep in the back, repeat. The world felt quiet, manageable out there on the highway in the dark. It was around 2:45 a.m. when I turned onto Route 24, a desolate two-lane road that cuts through some of the emptiest land you'll ever see. High desert, dry hills, and the occasional farmhouse. I was maybe 50 miles from the nearest gas station and hadn't seen another vehicle in over an hour. That's when I saw him. He was standing on the side of the road, just past a faded mile marker, under the full spread of my high beams. A man, wearing jeans and a gray hoodie with the hood up. No bag, no phone, just standing there. At first, I assumed his car had broken down and he was waiting for help, but I slowed down as I passed him, more out of curiosity than concern, and he didn't move, didn't flag me down, didn't look up, just stared across the road like he was waiting for something that wasn't me. Something about the way he stood, unnaturally straight, too still. It sent a chill into my gut. I kept going, didn't stop. Figured I'd call it in if I got a signal, but a few minutes later I saw him again. Same hoodie, same jeans, same posture, same man. I know how that sounds, and I questioned it too. I slowed way down, rolled down the window, squinting to see if it was a different guy. It wasn't. No way someone could have run ahead of me like that without me seeing them. There were no turn-offs, no paths, no cars hidden in the brush. Nothing. This time he was standing on the opposite side of the road, facing me directly. Still not moving. I kept driving faster this time. I kept checking the mirrors, half expecting to see him chasing after the truck. But of course there was no one there. Just empty blackness, broken only by my red taillights. I turned on the radio for comfort, but all I got was static. No signal. I passed a cattle fence, then a dirt pull-off. I saw an old barn far in the distance. And then, I swear to God, there he was again. Dead ahead, in the road. I slammed on the brakes so hard the rear cargo straps snapped and something heavy thudded against the wall behind me. I was maybe 30 feet away from him, full beams on. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't react at all. I laid on the horn. Nothing. I started to go around him, slowly, inching into the opposing lane just in case it was some weird prank or he lunged at the truck. But as I crept past, I finally got a closer look at his face. It wasn't right. It wasn't just blank or expressionless. It was like someone had molded a human face out of wax, but forgot to finish it. No eyebrows, no lips. His eyes were wide open, but there was something wrong with the whites. They looked smudged, like someone had rubbed ash across them. I pressed the gas and didn't look back. 15 minutes later, I reached the only town for miles, Cross Hill. It's a dot on the map. One gas station, one diner, and a boarded-up post office. I pulled in under the gas station lights and sat there, engine running, hands shaking. I checked the back of the truck. One of the old chairs I'd been hauling had fallen over. No big deal. I went inside, got coffee, and told the attendant, an older woman with tired eyes, that there was a man on the road back north who looked like he needed help. She looked up from the register, squinted at me. Where exactly? About 20 miles back, past the fence line, near the hill. She paused, then said, "Did he just stand there?" I froze. "Yeah." "Gray hoodie." I nodded slowly. She looked out the window toward the highway and crossed herself. "You saw the still man?" I laughed nervously. The what? That's what folks around here call him. Been sightings for decades. He always looks the same. Always appears at night. Doesn't talk. Doesn't move. And if you stop for him, well, people who do, they don't usually make it to wherever they were headed. My skin prickled. So what? It's like a local ghost story. She shook her head. Number ghosts don't show up on dash cams. She turned the register monitor toward me and pulled up a grainy black and white video. Security cam footage from the gas station. It showed a truck, not unlike mine, pulling in under the lights. A guy jumps out, clearly shaken, starts telling her something. And just before the footage ends, the camera catches a shadow, barely visible, standing in the distance near the edge of the light, perfectly still, just watching. That from tonight? I asked. She nodded. That was the last guy who came through saying what you said. That was 3 weeks ago. He never finished his delivery. I stared at the screen. My coffee went cold in my hand. Eventually I left, still shaken, but telling myself it had to be a coincidence. A trick of the light. Maybe even a weird local who liked screwing with drivers. But as I pulled back onto the highway, heading toward my drop point, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. When I passed him the last time, when he was standing in the road, there was something in his hands. I hadn't noticed before, but I remembered it now, clear as day. He was holding a car key, and I swear I saw blood on it. I never drove that route again. Even now, I avoid long stretches of open road at night. But sometimes, when I'm alone on a delivery, I'll check the rear view, and I'll think I see a figure standing in the distance. Not moving, not chasing, just watching, waiting. Because the still man doesn't need to follow you. He just needs you to stop. I usually sleep like a rock. Seriously, once I'm out, I'm out. It's a running joke with my friends that a meteor could crash through my roof, and I'd probably snooze right through it. But a few weeks ago, something happened that changed that. I haven't slept the same since. It was a Thursday night. I'd spent the evening gaming with a couple of friends from out of town, and I was too tired to drive back home, so I ended up crashing at my buddy Carter's house. He lives in this small 2-story place that backs up against a patch of woods. Not super deep woods or anything, but enough that you can't see the next house over. It's peaceful, but also kind of creepy at night. You know the type. Carter had work early the next morning, so he knocked out around midnight. I stayed up a little longer, scrolling through my phone, watching random YouTube videos to unwind. The guest room was upstairs, small but cozy. There was a single bed, a little nightstand, and a window that looked out toward the woods. Eventually, I put my phone down and tried to sleep, but something was off. I couldn't put my finger on it. I wasn't anxious or anything, I just felt unusually aware, like my senses were still switched on, even though my body was ready to rest. After about 30 minutes of lying there with my eyes closed, I heard something outside. It wasn't loud, but it was distinct enough to snap me fully awake. It sounded like gravel shifting, not animals rustling in the bushes or wind through the trees. This was different, more deliberate, like footsteps, slow ones. I sat up in bed and looked toward the window. The blinds were down, but one of the slats near the bottom was slightly bent, and I could just barely see through it. I don't know why, but I was nervous to get up and look. My brain was already offering logical explanations. Maybe it was a raccoon, or one of Carter's neighbors taking a weird late-night stroll. I almost convinced myself it was nothing, until I heard it again. Closer this time. Gravel. Then a soft creak, like the sound of wood settling. But Carter's porch doesn't creak unless someone's standing on it. I got up quietly and walked over to the window, lifting the blinds just an inch or two. At first, I didn't see anything, just the trees swaying gently in the wind, the moon casting shadows across the yard. But then something moved. There was a man standing at the tree line. Still, just standing there. No flashlight, no movement, just facing the house. I ducked back without thinking, heart pounding like crazy. I tried to calm myself down. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe someone got lost. But that didn't explain why he was just standing there, or how he got there without triggering Carter's motion lights. After a few minutes of nothing, I forced myself to peek again. He was gone. I stared out at the trees for a while longer, half expecting him to appear again. Nothing. I finally let the blinds drop and backed away from the window. I considered waking Carter, but I didn't want to freak him out over something that could still be innocent. I figured I'd just keep my ears open and try to get some sleep. I just climbed back into bed when I heard the back door click. Not slam, not creak. Click, like someone easing it open slowly. I sat frozen, listening. Another noise followed, a soft scrape like a shoe dragging across the tile floor of the kitchen. I knew Carter kept that door locked. I saw him do it earlier, which meant someone had to unlock it. I grabbed my phone and turned the flashlight on, but I didn't dare open the door. The guest room didn't have a lock. All I could do was sit there and listen as the sound of footsteps crept through the downstairs hallway. Then they stopped, right below me. I turned my phone on and pulled up the keypad to call 911, but I hesitated. What if it really was Carter? What if he got up for water or something? But then I remembered. Carter's room is on the second floor too, on the opposite end of the hall. If he'd gotten up, I would have heard his door open. That's when the stairs creaked, one step at a time, deliberate, careful. I stood up and looked around the room for something, anything I could use to defend myself. I grabbed this heavy glass lamp from the nightstand and held it tight, backing into the far corner of the room. The footsteps stopped at the top of the stairs. Then silence. I don't know how long I stood there. It felt like forever. My breathing was so loud in the stillness, I was sure whoever it was could hear me. And then, the door handle twitched, just slightly, enough to make a faint metallic sound as pressure was applied, like someone testing it. That was enough for me. I bolted out of the room and sprinted straight to Carter's door. I didn't knock, I just barged in and slammed it behind me. He sat up, totally confused, and I blurted out what was happening. To his credit, Carter didn't waste a second. He grabbed his baseball bat from under the bed and told me to stay behind him. We opened the guest room door together, but the hallway was empty. We checked every room upstairs. Nothing. Then we moved downstairs. Again, nothing. No broken windows, no open doors, except for the back door. It was slightly ajar. We called the cops. They showed up fast but didn't find anyone on the property. No footprints outside, no signs of forced entry. The back door hadn't been broken. It had just been unlocked. I told them what I saw. The guy in the woods. The footsteps. The door handle moving. They took it seriously, but without any evidence, there wasn't much they could do. The next morning, Carter checked the security cam mounted at the front porch. It only catches a narrow view of the driveway and front step, not the backyard. But around 2:37 a.m., there's a frame where the motion light turns on, and for about half a second you can see a tall figure standing at the edge of the porch, facing the door, but not moving, just watching. Then it cuts out. Carter installed more cameras that same day. I haven't stayed over since. And now, every night before I sleep, I double-check every lock, twice, because I keep thinking about how deliberate it all felt. Like whoever was out there wasn't trying to rob anyone. They were trying to find someone who was alone. And that night, they just picked the wrong room. It started on a Saturday night while I was house-sitting for my older brother. He and his wife had flown out to Chicago for a friend's wedding and needed someone to keep an eye on their place for the weekend. I said yes, mostly for the peace and quiet. Plus, they had a killer entertainment setup in their basement. The neighborhood was tucked away in a wooded suburb outside of Eugene. Isolated, quiet, and just far enough away from anything that you'd never hear a siren or car engine after dark. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels hollow, artificial, but I didn't mind. I figured I'd bring my laptop, order some pizza, maybe get a little work done. Their house was 2 stories, with the guest room upstairs and the basement den below. The moment I walked in, I felt something off. Not something I could point to, just a heaviness in the air. Like the place had been holding its breath for too long. I chalked it up to being alone in someone else's house and went about settling in. The night started normal enough. I watched a movie downstairs, had a couple beers, and went to bed sometime after midnight. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up suddenly. Only, I wasn't really awake. In the dream, I opened my eyes to the sound of faint scratching. Not loud, just barely noticeable. It was coming from the wall behind the headboard. I remember sitting up, listening hard, thinking maybe a squirrel or something had gotten into the crawl space. The sound stopped when I moved, so I figured whatever it was had heard me. I laid back down, eyes still open, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me. Then the scratching started again, but this time it was closer. Too close. It wasn't behind the wall anymore. It was under the bed. I froze, my breath shallow, staring up like I was paralyzed. The fan above me began to slow, making this low creaking sound like an old door hinge. And the more it slowed, the more I felt the temperature drop. The sheets got cold enough that my legs began to cramp. And then I heard it. My name. Whispered from beneath the bed in a voice I didn't recognize. The voice repeated it, slowly, with this dragging syllable at the end that made my skin crawl. I wanted to move. I wanted to leap out of bed and turn the lights on, but something about the air in that room made every muscle feel like it was made of cement. The whispering didn't stop. It turned into full sentences, awful ones. Whoever was under the bed knew things about me, deep things. Mistakes I'd made, things I regret, words I'd said to people I cared about in anger. Stuff I hadn't thought about in years. And then the whispering turned to laughter. Not a human laugh, more like something trying to mimic a laugh and getting it all wrong. High-pitched and stuttering and just completely wrong. My skin felt like it was peeling off my bones. The moment I finally forced myself to sit up, the noise stopped. Total silence. But when I looked over at the door to the hallway, there was a light. Just a sliver of yellow light beneath the door, exactly like what you'd see if someone had left the hall light on. Only, I hadn't turned on any lights. I knew that for a fact. I got out of bed anyway, pulled open the bedroom door, and that was the first time I noticed something truly impossible. The hallway didn't look right. The walls were the wrong color. Not painted, but more like they were covered in stained yellowed paper that pulsed slightly, as if it were breathing. There were no doors, no furniture, just that narrow hallway stretching on far too long for a house this size. I stepped out. I don't know why I did it, but the second my foot hit the hallway carpet, all the lights blew out at once. It was like someone had sucked all the electricity from the house. I turned around to go back into the bedroom, but the door was gone. Just a wall now, seamless. That was when the floor started moving, not shaking, moving, like something was crawling beneath the carpet in big, slow waves. I ran. I didn't care where the hallway went. I just needed to get away from whatever was chasing me from underneath. After what felt like forever, I turned a corner and found myself staring at the basement stairs. But the stairs were upside down. like the entire house had flipped on its head, I heard the whisper again, right behind me. Close enough that I could feel the breath on my ear. I jumped, and that's when I actually woke up. Or at least, I thought I did. Everything looked normal again. I was back in the guest bedroom, covered in sweat. But the first thing I noticed was the faint sound of whispering. Still there, still just as cruel. I sat up slowly, heart pounding, hoping to see something, anything, that would tell me I was awake for real this time. Then I looked at the door. That same damn strip of yellow light was still shining beneath it. I held my breath, listened hard. Nothing. No footsteps, no voices now. I got up and walked toward the door, hand trembling as I reached for the knob. The second I touched it, the light vanished. Not flickered. Vanished, like someone had yanked it away from the other side. I opened the door. The hallway was normal again. I walked downstairs, turned on every light in the house just to convince myself I was really awake. Everything looked fine. No signs of anything being wrong. I finally relaxed, turned off the lights, and went back to bed. Sleep didn't come easy, but eventually I must have dozed off. The next morning, I found something strange in the basement. At first, I thought it was a stain on the carpet. But when I got closer, I realized it wasn't a stain. It was a single, child-sized handprint pressed into the floor. Small, dusty, like it had been left there years ago and somehow surfaced overnight. That's not the part that's been eating at me. The part that keeps me up at night is this. When I saw that print, I knew it wasn't the first time I'd seen it. I've dreamed about that handprint before. Years ago, when I was a kid, in a completely different house, in a different city, on a different coast. And somehow it followed me here. I don't know what any of it means. I don't know if it was just a dream, or something deeper that keeps reaching through the cracks in my mind, trying to remind me that it's still here, watching, waiting. And I swear, every now and then when I'm about to fall asleep, I still hear it whisper my name,